Welcome to the monthly Paddle Blitz, where I give you rapid fire thoughts on the paddles that I've been testing this month. Quick takes, real thoughts, no script. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, Brayden here with Pickleball Effect. So this month I've been playing with the SLK ERAs, the J2NF foam paddle series, and then some new paddles from Volair that not a lot of people have talked about. I'm just a huge fan of this Mach 2 shape, and this new one is a nice upgrade from the original. So we're gonna go through all these. If you are interested in purchasing any of these paddles, I have links and codes in the description. Any purchase you make goes towards supporting my channel. And thanks to these brands for sending me these paddles. However, this video is not sponsored by them. These are my own thoughts. I'm here to advocate for the customer, help you guys find the best paddle that fits your game. So starting with the SLK ERAs, these were released about a week ago. These are Selkirk paddles, but the SLK is their budget line. A lot of people have been comparing these to the 11624 power paddles because they have very similar core constructions. When you look at the x-rays, they both have this floating core design. It's one foam piece that goes around the perimeter, and then you see two they're just carbon fiber strips on the sides that overlay the core and the foam. It's meant to keep the core and foam more intact so that it doesn't break in as much. It's going to maintain some durability there. Plus, it adds some perimeter weighting and makes the paddles play very stable, which is really nice. So just looking at the numbers of these, they have really good numbers. So first off, they retail for $200, which is great. A lot of people are touting these as Selkirk's best paddles. I agree, especially in the power department, but the numbers on these look solid. So starting with the elongated, the swing weight is 117 with a twist weight of 6.3. And then the wide body has a swing weight of 111 and a twist weight of 7.1. So 117 is definitely on the lower side for elongated paddles. You know, that range for elongated is going to be 117 to 122-ish. So it's nice to see it on the lower end, but even though it's on the lower end, it still carries through the ball very well. It doesn't feel like it gets pushed around. Same thing with this, the wide body carries through the ball well, holds its own, very forgiving. And then that twist weight number of 6.3 on the elongated is really solid. These are actually very similar, nearly the exact same numbers as the 11624. It also had, my elongated shape also had 117 and then a 6.4 twist weight. So very close numbers, really good numbers. For the swing weight to be this low on the elongated, plus having that high of a twist weight, you just don't see that very often, and it plays that way. Both these paddles play very giving for the shapes. The ERA elongated, along with the 11624 Huarache, are two of the best elongated paddles that I played this year, and they play very good out of the box. There's some room for customization, but they don't have to have it. They still play forgiving. They still have some plow through. There is some nuance between these and the 11624 powers, though the x-rays look very similar. They do play a little bit different. I actually prefer the Selkirk ERAs over the 11624 power series. I just think these ones feel a little bit more complete, a little more solid. They have a little more offense, a little more pop to them, yet they still maintain that same maneuverability as the 11624s. It's not a huge difference. If you're picking between, you know, these and the 11624s, they're so similar that if you want to just save a little bit of money, you're not going to really miss out going with the 11624. But if you do want that a 1-year warranty to go with it, it only costs $40 extra to pick this up for $200. And with the Gen 3 style paddle, these are gonna break down quicker than other stuff, so it's nice to have the longer warranty, and it is a nice benefit though. But if I was gonna attend a tournament tomorrow and I had to pick between these and 11624s, I did prefer the ERAs. I just thought they felt a little more complete, though they wasn't like drastically different from the 11624s, but there was some nuance there. And I think part of it is just because these are just shaped a little bit different. I think that's what brought some of the different properties out of them. Although the internals are very similar, there are just a little bit different shapes, and for whatever reason, these shapes just worked a little bit better for me. And these are the shapes that Selkirk's going to move forward with across all their lines. They're just going to do two shapes, wide body, elongated. I think they're just trying to simplify their offering, make it really easy. People searching for paddles just to go with more defensive, super big sweet spot, elongated, a little extra power. But I mean, I like that they're simplifying it. I do wish they were offering it a hybrid. 11624 does offer their power series in a hybrid, which is the most popular shape of those of that series. So I think Selkirk is missing out on the hybrid option. If you do want the hybrid shape, go 11624. However, the elongated version is light enough that it makes up for some of, or it can accommodate some of that crowd that likes the hybrid shape, because this is on the lighter end for elongated. So you'll get some of those people who prefer hybrids. I think they're going to lean towards the elongated option there. But yeah, those are the ERAs, really good paddles. We're going to see a lot more from Selkirk moving forward, and this is just the start of it for them. Next ones we're going to talk about are the J2NFs. So J2NF, there's 3 paddles in this series. I'm going to do a full review on these paddles, but just wanted to give you my early thoughts on these because these are really good. And then a lot of folks have been asking me about these. So J2NF is the name of the series, and they have 3 different models. They have the J2NFT, which has a PET or titanium face. J2NFC, this says L, but the production models have C on there. But this is a carbon fiber face. And then they have a J2NFK, which is the same paddle with a Kevlar face. So when you look at the internals, it's a solid piece of foam, except on the edges, there's like a little cutout. It looks like notches. That gives the face a little flex, gives the foam a little more liveliness to it. We've seen a couple of early foam paddle releases from Selkirk 008s and the dyed in blue cores where they just didn't give you enough. Like I think the promise of foam cores, in addition to the durability, is that you can get a more comfortable, dampened, feel from it while still having all core and power performance. When you look at polypropylene cores, control paddles have a very comfortable, soft, dampened feel to them. But as you level up in power, up to all core or power, the feel usually gets a little bit stiffer. You get a little more hollow. It's just not as intuitive and it's not as comfortable. But foam, you can have a power paddle or an all core paddle that feels very comfortable, that feels like a control paddle almost, like the impact feel, but you get that all core and power performance. And so that's the big draw to me for foam paddles, in addition to the durability improvements. So you're not going to have core crush. You don't have to worry about breaking. And these are all things that have been plaguing the market for a while. So I'm really excited for paddles to keep moving towards foam. And I think these are just like the first good ones since the carbon true foams to kind of usher in this new foam era. So these are power paddles. They're kind of that lower power paddle. They're not quite as much as these SLK ERAs, just below, still power category, but they feel great. Interestingly, they have a little bit different feels between all 3. I've played, paddles in the past that have 3 different faces, and they all just kind of meld together. And in this case, the carbon one actually feels the stiffest, which is interesting. Usually the carbon is one of the softer feeling ones. And I didn't enjoy the feel of the carbon or it was my least favorite in feel between the NFK and the NFT. I thought the NFC and NFK played very similar as far as power and pop input, but this one had that more of a foamy feel. You get that sense of dwell that foam gives you, and it played better in my opinion. So I like this over the NFC. And then the PET version plays a little bit softer, not quite as much pop as the NFK. And so this is maybe more of an aggressive all quarter lower power paddle, while this one's more of a middle to lower power paddle. And so I would go with these 2 if you're going to go with it. But these, a lot of good things to say about them. You get that the spins there, the dwells there, the feels there, the power and pops there, and it's lighter. I think one of the, we were kind of treated early with the carbon true foams. They were in that all court leaning power. They had that really dense plush feel. But the one downside of those, they were just on the heavier side. These are not. These are not on the heavier side. When we look at the numbers of these, the average swing weights for all 3 are between 110 and 114. The twist weights are still high at 6.8, which is kind of, I guess, average for a hybrid. And then they have a static weight of 8 to 8.3. Something about this shape that Honolulu does, this J2 shape, is my favorite hybrid shape. They're able to crank up the static weight between 8 to 8.3, but maintain a lower swing weight. So you get a little more weight behind the ball, but you maintain that maneuverability that we want and like from a hybrid shape paddle. The forgiveness wise, very solid. They didn't feel quite as forgiving as the original J2K that everyone fell in love with, though not too far off. Still great sweet spots, but really, really good options. I'll be sharing more opinions on these in a full review, but these are available for pre-order. Definitely worth getting in line for those. You get the feel, the performance, plus the durability, and then this shape is really nice. If some people complain that the handle's a little bit shorter, I don't mind. You can still squeeze 2 hands on here. It's not the worst, but if you have bigger hands and you do 2-handed shots, that might get in the way a little bit, but not a big deal to me. So those are the the J2NFs, and those are retailing for $195 before code. Last paddle I'm going to talk about is the new Volair. This one's kind of a mouthful. This is V.1F. Then they have a wide body and a hybrid shape. So, man, what was it? Two and a half years ago or so, Volair released the original Mach 2 Forza that had this shape. They were one of the early adopters of having a wide body with a longer handle. I played with that paddle for a long time. I really liked it. But it was a very control-oriented paddle. And I just kind of outgrew it and moved on to something a little more powerful. And it wasn't until now that they finally have another option that in this same shape that gives you a little more offense than the original Mach 2. So what they did is same shape. I just love the shape. It is just a huge sweet spot. Nothing feels more stable. Nothing has a bigger sweet spot to me than this shape that Volair has. And so it just feels like a wall, and I love that. But what they did differently from the original is they put a PET / titanium face on front and then backed it up with 2 fiberglass layers to give it just a little more offense. And when you play with it, like in my head, when I hear that, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to have a good amount of offense, easily all court. This still falls into the control category for me. It wasn't giving me as much power as I expected, though it was definitely more than the original. So if you were playing the original, you're definitely going to like this upgrade. You're going to get a little more offense, but you maintain that same level of control on resets, drops, like all that control is there, but you just get a little more offense. You can feel the paddle stiffen up a little bit when you're hitting drives, when you're just laying into the ball and activating those fiberglass layers. So it's just got a little more offense to it. It's kind of got that little higher power, same level of control. The PET keeps it on the softer side. So it's really not that much different feeling than the original was, but you get that little extra offense, and it's a nice bump there. I think they did a good job. These retail for $200. I mean, it's not a foam paddle. It's not like this crazy unique one, but it is a nice upgrade. If you were in love with that original shape like I was, then I think, and you want to move on to something with a little more offense, this is it. I would probably describe it as like a low all court aggressive control paddle. It's not quite directly in the middle of the all court category. And numbers for that one is kind of what we expect. We have a swing weight of 111, and then it just has a fat twist weight of 7.42, and that thing just feels so solid and complete when you hit it. And then, but there is some room for customization if you want to throw a little weight to bump up that swing weight. But if you did, I would just throw like maybe 1 or 2 grams on top. You don't need to make it any more forgiving. You might just need to adjust kind of where that swing weight is for you. But really good paddle. This one, their hybrid model, I'm not as in love with. When they introduced the shape, like again, 2.5 years ago or so, hybrids were still new. We didn't have many of them. And I really liked it then. But now as we've gotten more hybrid shapes on the market, like the J2s and some others, this is not my favorite hybrid shape. So it's a hybrid length. So it's like, 6.3 inches long or something. And then normally when you have that, they're going to make the width about 7.7 or 7.8 because you get a little extra room for going shorter. But this is 6.3 inches long, and then they keep 7.5 inches wide as if which is the same width as an elongated. So they leave some room here, and it's just not quite as forgiving as other hybrid shapes, yet it still has a higher swing weight of 118. So this one has a swing weight of 118, a twist weight of 6.5. Like if you contrast that with this J2 shape that has a swing weight of 111 to 114, but has a higher twist weight at 6.8, you can kind of see where the numbers just aren't, something's not lining up with this, where it's a little bit heavier. It's not quite as forgiving as some of these more modern shapes. And so it's not my favorite shape. And but playability wise falls right in the all court. Very similar characteristics as the wide body, where it gives you a little bit more as you lay into it, and then has a very control-like feel on the soft stuff, but just not quite as unique to me as the Mach 2 shape is. But yeah, that's everything I have for you. Let me know what you want me to review next month. Thanks for watching, and I hope it helped.